The Middle East conflict is causing a lot of trouble for businesses in Africa. To the majority, the question is how? Stay tuned. If today you are transacting business anywhere in Africa, you must be aware about the Middle East conflict. We all know when it started. That was on October 6, 2023. Unfortunately, many people are not aware about some of the effects that war is having on our lives and also on our businesses. In today's video, we are going to talk about some of the effects of the Middle East conflict on our businesses. It is important for every business person in Africa to understand that the Middle East conflict is not just a distant headline. No, the effects of the Middle East conflict are about to hit the African businesses in a very hard way. And this is especially if the conflict is going to escalate. Think about the oil prices, the supply chain, and even your local currency. All of them are at risk. We are also going to talk about some of the things that you can do to protect your business. Today, I am going to break down how this crisis is likely to affect countries in the Horn of Africa, that is Djibouti, Ethiopia, and the rest, East African countries, for example, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, South African countries, that is South Africa, Zambia, Malawi, Mozambique, Eswatini, and the others. We are also going to address some of the steps that you can take so that you can be able to pull through the crisis without a lot of damage to your business. Probably there's someone who is asking, why are we not talking about the effects of the conflict on countries? We do appreciate that there are very many negative impacts or effects at the country's level. This conflict is going to affect many countries' economic growth. There's also the security issue that is internally and also externally. Some of the African countries are likely to be drawn into that war. Think about countries like Somalia, Kenya, and the rest. They are likely going to be drawn into that war. It may not be direct, but we are likely going to be drawn into that war. And what about religious conflict? Are countries in the Horn of Africa, East African region, and the southern part of Africa likely to experience religious conflicts as a direct result of the Middle East conflict? Your guess is as good as mine. We know that this war is also likely to have a lot of social effects in the countries. For example, if the prices of goods will go up, that is going to affect the social life in basically all the countries. It is very unfortunate that African heads of states do not seem to be bothered about what is happening in the Middle East, because instead of taking sides, what they ought to do is to come together and try and help the countries that are at war to agree to an amicable solution and resolve the conflict. War does not benefit anyone, of course, apart from the business people, because you've been told time and time again that war is business. So in this particular case, the people who are dealing in arms, the war logistics, those are the only beneficiaries. But otherwise, everybody else is a loser. We are going to look at some of the potential effects on private businesses in Africa. Maybe in another video at a later date, we are going to look at some of the impacts on the East African, Southern, and the Horn of Africa. There are very many negative effects of this conflict on African businesses. And because we don't have time to discuss all of them, we are going to look at only 5 key effects. And once you appreciate what the conflict is likely to do to your business, then you can always sit down, look at your business, take a pen and paper, and write down the specific impacts of the conflict on your business. From that, you will be able to come up with strategies that are going to help you mitigate some of those impacts. The first issue that most African businesses are going to face is the oil prices disaster. Most African countries import oil from the Middle East. When conflicts erupt, what happens to the oil prices? We all know the prices explode. And guess who is likely to suffer? You, me, and the rest. For example, transport costs are likely to skyrocket, and this is going to drive up the prices of almost everything. Remember, our transport sectors heavily rely on fuel. There are also very many people in the African continent, especially this side of the African continent, who use gas for cooking. When oil prices explode, prices of basically everything are going to be affected. The prices will not go down, the prices will go up. So what is it that we can do? Of course, there are very many things that we can do, and there are also very many things that we do not have the capacity to sort out. For example, if OPEC and the rest decide to increase the prices, as individuals, there's basically nothing that we can do. However, there are things that we can do at the individual level. This is as business people. Number one, we can lock oil contracts. That is the prices. Now, before the prices increase, especially for logistics business, one of the things that we can do is we can talk to our suppliers and we lock the prices. And how do we lock the prices? By signing a contract. Once you sign a contract, assuming that your supplier is an honorable person, you're going to get your supplies at that price. The second thing that we can do is to shift to renewables, for example, solar for small and medium enterprises, electric vehicles where applicable. For example, you and me know very well that the oil prices are likely to go, and that is not within our control. So far, no one knows when that war is going to end. So if you're importing a vehicle from Japan, Dubai, or wherever, instead of importing a vehicle that is going to use fuel, why not import a vehicle that is electric? In most African countries, the cost of electricity is very high. Why? Because there is always the oil component. Probably by switching to solar, we can be able to mitigate the effects of the oil price hikes. Number three is to optimize delivery routes. We need to cut down on unnecessary trips. For example, if you own a business that does deliveries to customers, you can always put everything together for a certain route. You don't have to send your driver in the morning, lunch hour, and evening. You can consolidate everything and deliver at the same time. The second impact is on the supply chain, and the supply chains are likely to face chaos. I know the Middle East conflict is already affecting most of the businesses. However, we must also think about the future, and that future can be tomorrow, next week, next month, or even next year. A few years back, there was the Red Sea attacks, and that paralyzed the shipment of basically all the goods that were passing through the Red Sea or near the Red Sea. Let me tell you, this is happening again. If your business relies heavily on imports that pass near the Red Sea or through the Red Sea, for example, electronics, car parts, even medicine, you are likely to face delays and there will be price hikes. The price hikes may not be here, the price hikes are coming. What is it that you can do so that you can minimize the impact on your supply chain? There are very many things that you can do. However, let us discuss only 3 things. In your spare time, you can always look at your business and come up with some of the actions or activities that you can be able to undertake so that you can minimize the effects or the impacts of the supply chain chaos. Number 1, diversify the source of your supplies. For example, if you are importing from the East, you can always start importing from the West. There are very many companies that have better prices than even the prices that we get from the East. You can look at countries in South America, countries in America, countries in Europe, from all over, as long as your supplies are not passing near the Red Sea. The second thing that you can do is to stockpile critical inventory. Before the conflict escalates, you can buy extra stock. And this is going to help you so that you're not going to be caught empty-handed. You can imagine a situation where you own a manufacturing firm and you don't have raw materials. You'd rather have excess raw materials because you can even sell the raw materials to your competitors. The third thing that you need to do is you need to prepare your customers early enough. It is important for you to be honest with the customers, explain to them about what is happening in Middle East. When you do that, you're going to be transparent, and this is going to prevent a lot of frustrations. You can imagine a customer has given you an order, you cannot deliver. Just imagine how if a customer has placed an order with you and you're not able to deliver. They have customers waiting and you have the order and you cannot deliver because your supply chain has been disrupted. So go ahead and talk to your customers early enough. The third thing that is likely to happen is collapse of local currencies. I am not being an alarmist. No. When we are talking about collapsing, we are not saying that the currencies will go to zero. No. But the currencies are likely to lose value. For example, a weaker currency means that the imported goods get to be more expensive. And sometimes this happens overnight. For example, if it is the Kenya shilling, a weaker Kenya shillings means that the imports become very expensive. So if you are a supplier and you pay for your supplies in dollars or any other foreign currency, your costs are likely to increase when your local currency becomes weak. What is it that you can do so that you can be able to adapt? There are very many things that you can do. However, let us just look at 3 things that you can do. Number 1, you can hedge against currency risks. To do that, you need to talk to your bank because most banks, they have forex tools. So go ahead, book an appointment with your bank manager and explain to them what is happening and what you are thinking. You'll be able to get help. Of course, it is not free. The next thing that you can do is to buy African products. Remember, if you are buying locally, you are going to use the local currency. Whatever happens to your currency internationally, it is not going to affect you. When the currency is losing value internationally, that is not going to affect you because you are buying and selling in your local currency. You can also buy from the neighboring countries. We have a lot of local materials that we can use. Yes, we do. We may not have the exact materials to use, but we have alternatives. I think it's the high time we started buying Africa to build Africa. The third thing that you can do is increase your prices strategically. You know very well that the prices of your inputs are going to increase. You wouldn't be expected to maintain the same selling prices. So what you need to do is you need to start increasing the prices, but you have to do it very strategically. Explain to your customers why you're increasing the prices. The fourth thing that is likely to happen is that the tourism industry is likely to collapse. Remember, for most African countries, tourism is a lifeline. But when there is global tension, tourists tend to vanish because they are being told by their mother countries, don't go to this and that area. They have travel warnings, and this is likely to affect hotels, tour guides, even craft sellers. They are going to suffer. So we are looking at a situation where the tourism industry is likely to collapse. It may not collapse 100%, but it is going to get a big hit. What is it that we can do? There are very many things that we can do. However, let us look at only 3 things. Number 1, target domestic or regional tourists. Offer Africa for Africans deals. It is very unfortunate that most of the people who operate tour businesses, for whatever reason or reasons, do not seem to think that their fellow Africans have money and they can spend that money as tourists even within their villages. There are so many people who want to visit places, but they do not know where to start. The Gen Zs of today, many of them, they want to discover places. That can be your target. I am not saying that you need to close your international business, no, but you can have a mix. Local business plus international business. You should never close your business because there are travel warnings. No. You are in the tourist business. The second thing that you can do is to refocus your business to business and conference travel. This is one area that has very high margins than holidaymakers. And you can imagine if someone is supposed to come for a business meeting in East Africa, whether there are travel warnings or not, business comes first. And you find that business people will always come. Where they come, for example, to attend conferences, they are pretty secure areas. So you can focus your offers and start offering business and conference travel. Number 3 is to partner with influencers. Yes, social media influencers. You can showcase Africa's stability and its beauty, such that you are going to attract clients who wants to come and enjoy the Africa that is not shown by many media houses. Number 5 is the security risk. Yes, today the Middle East conflict is posing one of the worst security risks to African countries, and especially those ones in the Horn of Africa, East Africa, and Southern Africa. Any conflict abroad is likely to be imported into security threats at home. And this is going to call for checks, especially when people are getting into malls or going to churches or mosques, and that is likely to result in slower activities. When you spend a lot of time because of tighter security checks, you are losing money. For example, if you are going for a meeting to meet prospective customers or clients, if you get late at the security desks, some of the customers or clients may change their minds. They may decide that they don't want to do business with you. The other thing is that most of the cargo is going to be delayed because of the Middle East conflicts. Some of that cargo is for security supplies, and when it is not received on time, what happens to the security risks? Remember, there's also a lot of disruptions because we are living in an area that has a lot of security risks. So what is it that you can do? This is one of the areas where you have very little that you can do. However, it does not mean that you just sit and throw your hats in the air and say, okay, we are facing security risks because of what is happening in the Middle East. No, there is something that you can do. Number 1, track your shipment in real time. If you have any shipment that is passing anywhere near where there is the Middle East conflict, it is important for you to track the shipment. Every minute, you need to know where your shipment is. And today, there are very many tools that you can use to track your shipment. Number 2 is you need to avoid high-risk transit zones. It is important for you to stay updated. You're going to be informed about what is happening. I've come across many people who don't want to know what is happening around the world. They seem to think that getting interested in what is happening internationally is a waste of time. It is not a waste of time. We are living in very dangerous times. You need to understand exactly what is happening every single minute. You need to know what is happening. It is about you. It is about your life. It's about your business. The third thing that you can do is to insure critical goods. It is always better safe than sorry. Whatever supplies you are importing, make sure that you take insurance so that in case of anything, you are going to be covered. We have come to the end of this session, and we have been looking at some of the negative effects of the Middle East conflict on businesses that are being operated in Africa, and this is especially the Horn of Africa, the East African part of Africa, and also the southern part of Africa. We have looked at only 5 impacts or effects, but it is important for you to remember these are not the only effects. There are very many. This was just an introduction, and always remember, this is not professional advice. We are discussing an issue, and this is an issue that needs to be discussed. We have looked at the expected oil prices disaster. We have also looked at the supply chain chaos. Number 3, we've looked at the potential currency collapse or currencies collapse. We have also looked at the potential or collapse of the tourism industries in most of the countries, and also the security risks that are being faced by the business people, the ordinary people, the countries, and everybody else. Now, it is important for you to understand that crises come and go, but African businesses that adapt are likely to survive. If you take action, and you must be proactive, you are likely to survive. If you don't, chances are that your business may not survive. You have the tools today. You can cut your fuel costs, you can secure your supply chains, you can protect your cash. Don't wait until it is too late. So, drop a comment. Which country are you in, and what is your biggest worry about the Middle East conflict? Let us help each other out. And if you think that this video has saved you future headaches, smash the like button, subscribe, and share with a fellow entrepreneur. Stay strong. Till next time, this is Dr. Wakaguyu.